Organic chicken feed. I got an email from John asking me about organic chicken feed.
Let's read the email. Hi Daniel, mate, you do an awesome job encouraging and giving farmers clear vision on how to start pastured raised eggs. I'm certainly one of them. Thanks for that, John. I bought 70 acres about a year ago and I want to have a crack. I want to go organic and to have a point of difference. Now my struggle is organic feed, which is my only concern with the enterprise. I've received quotes from a couple of companies in Queensland, $1,500 a tonne, $1,700 a tonne. That's for organic grain mix, no pellets. Question to you, how can I make this business work if feed costs are high? Is that the standard price everyone is paying to buy organic feed? I'm very determined to go organic, so I have to make it work and I need some of your advice. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John, for your email. I'll give you a few pointers. I thought I'd make you a video instead of trying to type it all out. So I'll start with, is that the standard price for everyone paying for organic feed? Obviously where you're located, when you said 1,500 a tonne or 1,700 a tonne delivered, a large portion of that is delivery. If you rung up those feed companies and said, how much is it if I just turn up in my ute or truck or whatever and picked it up myself, it would be cheaper, therefore you've got a freight component. So someone buying organic feed that lives next to the feed mill is getting a great deal because they don't get the transport costs. It's with so many items, big, bulky, heavy items these days all over the world. So yes, that is expensive feed. How can I make the business work if feed costs are so high? I'll cover that. I'm determined to go organic to make it work. Okay, so if you're determined to go organic, I'm not going to want to give you advice of like, here's how not to go organic. But I will say, based on your input costs and the research you've done, it could be hard to go organic without getting creative. So here are a few things that come to mind. With those feed costs, you probably can't scale big and huge. When I say big and huge, 1,000 birds. If you go 1,000 birds or more, you probably aren't going to make much money. And why I say that is there's probably things you can do to reduce your feed bill for smaller flocks, like less than 1,000. So one of the things I've had experience with, so I have consulted to many organic farms, I've managed an organic egg farm, I've started an organic egg farm, I've sold an organic egg farm, I've done a little bit in the organic, certified organic free-range pastured egg with a movable shed egg farming space. One of the things you can do on small numbers is milk a cow. That is not a joke. So basically, if you're buying in straight grain, so I'm not talking about chicken food that has 18% protein, I'm talking about wheat, just straight wheat. You may be able to get cheaper because you can find a grower closer, buy it straight from the grower and you bring in wheat. Now, I'm not a grainologist that understands all the proteins of wheat and that, but you know what? You can send it away. Basically, what you can do with that wheat, you can look into sprouting it. I've never sprouted grains for chickens. I've heard it can be done. I've only heard about it being done on small scale. When I say small scale, less than 100 birds. If you really want to go organic, I'm probably looking at a plan for you where you have a small number of birds, you do different inputs, which is not conventional certified organic feed, and you keep your price high. So one of the things you could do is milk a cow. Get 1 or 2 or 3 milking cows, bring in grain hopefully for, I don't know, 900 a tonne. I don't know what the price of certified organic straight like wheat is. It's going to be cheaper than $1,700 a tonne. Bearing in mind we are in a drought at the moment. The good thing is with that, there's a good chance the grain price is only going to come down. So it's a really good time to do your figures on how do we get it to work. Basically, you milk the cow and you get the grain, you put the milk in the grain, that creates a porridge. Now, in the milk, Again, I'm not a scientific nutritionist for livestock, blah, 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 words that I can't pronounce or spell. Basically, that milk has got protein, it's got calcium, it's got minerals, it's got a whole bunch of good stuff. I've been on farms where they've actually got bran, which is like bran is of wheat. It comes from the mill, so they make white flour, and from the piece of wheat, and the other stuff is the bran. And the bran's actually got high protein because it's got all the outer shell and the other stuff. I've worked with a farm that they get fresh bran. They don't have it like come in and sit around for 6 months. It's fresh bran, like it's within like a week from the mill. They mix that with milk, so they make like a porridge, and they feed that to the chickens. The chickens lay eggs because they're getting the protein from the milk. So that is an option. Again, small numbers. If you're going to milk cows to feed 2,000 birds, I don't know, you might have 16 cows, and then you've got to go, how many dry cows do I need? Now I need a bull. Now I've got calves coming through, and it's this whole other operation. You could do some milk-fed vealers or something as well. I'm not sure. I don't want to get too complex for it. Milk a cow, mix it with the grain. That could work for you. Another thing that can do is make compost. You want to be certified organic, so you need to look at the organic rules. But if you're bringing in veggie scraps, don't feed those straight to the chickens because they're not going to be certified organic. But basically, if you're bringing in something, it could be hay or straw or veggie scraps or other things, like could be cow manure from your farm, and you can compost that. And where you're moving your chickens across the landscape, like every 50 meters, if you have like 2 cubic meter pile of compost, which you can turn, and basically what you're wanting that compost to do, not that they're actually eating the compost, the dirt in it, they'll probably eat little bits of it, but you want them to eat what wants to live in that. So the compost is purely an environment for beetles, bugs, worms, other creepy crawlies that we can't even see that they're just going to go for. Again, I haven't seen someone scale that to a point where it's that they're putting 1,000 birds on it. You may be able to do that for maybe 130, like 100 birds or something. Again, something to look into. If you're going to have your farm for a long time, I like to think about growing trees and shade rather than 5 years from now you have a hot summer and you go, oh, the chickens they're hot. Plant some trees, but if you're growing trees, think of some things that chickens could eat. One of the things that comes to mind is avocados. I'm only saying that, I don't know if they grow in your region. Avocados, they're into a big tree. They're a great shade tree. Avocados in the right environment, you don't have to pick the fruit in a 1 week window. You can pick the fruit over a few months. Like it starts ripening after you pick it. But it's probably something, the seconds from that can be fed to the chickens. Like chickens will eat avocado. I haven't done scientific research if a chicken eats like a kilo of avocado. I don't know. In your region, I would be looking, can you grow grain? Now, I wouldn't be saying, hey, go spend $500,000 on tractors and headers and all the other stuff to grow grain. But look at how you could grow grain. And this is where you could get creative. Let's just say you're in an area that you could maybe grow wheat. I would be looking at, this is me, you might not want to do this. I'd be looking at how can I put wheat out into the paddock, and then just before it's ready to harvest with a header, and I don't own a header, I would be going, how can I go through with like a ride-on lawnmower quite high, and I basically want to smash that wheat off, like cut it down, and it lands on the ground, and I want bits of that wheat to land back in the ground to come up next year, next season, and I want the chickens to go through and scratch. So the chickens are sort of self-harvesting. I haven't done that, but I've heard of different concepts of that, and I don't know if it was wheat or if it was something else. But if you can actually get a system where you're growing grain in a particular field and some of it's landing back in the field to come up next year or next season or something, that could be an option. I just want to reduce your diesel costs. I don't want to say grow grain and now you've got a tractor and a header and you're just putting fuel into all of it just to keep the whole thing running. But question, can you grow grain? Or as I said before, find someone who is growing grain. Can you buy some organic grain straight from them? In your situation, if you want to go organic and you wanted to use some of these methods, I'd be looking at small numbers. When I say small numbers, I'm talking less than 200 hens. If you were to make enough compost to attract enough bugs, beetles, worms and that, you may need to, it may be like cubic meters, like it may be heaps, which is then gets unviable. I've heard of people doing some of these measures with 30 or 40 chickens, but not sort of large commercial things. Small numbers and buying groups. So the buying groups is really the distribution. But buying groups, basically what buying groups are, instead of getting all your eggs and taking them off to a retail store and they sell them off, a buying group is a group of people which you may deliver eggs to once a week, and you may have like 4 drop-off points and you drop 10 dozen eggs here, 20 dozen eggs here, 30 dozen here and 15 dozen here. You drop it off at 4 locations, and from those locations other people will come and pick up their eggs, and they're all prepaid for. It's a great concept. So basically you sell them in advance. So let's just say your certified organic eggs are $10 a dozen and someone wants 1 dozen a week for the next 3 months. 1 dozen a week for the next 12 weeks is $120. So they pay you $120 and you say to them, okay, you're all paid for the next 3 months. You pick up your eggs at Smith Street in town from this lady's front porch on Tuesday at 4 p.m. So you drop them off at Tuesday at 4 p.m. Now, if they turn up at 10 past 4 or 5:30 or 6:30 that night, they just get them from that lady's front porch. They got their name on it. So that person who's hosting, like whose front porch is on, that person's not trying to deal with money and have they picked up. They're purely providing a front veranda in the shade where you just pop all the eggs there. That way you are getting rid of the middleman, so you're getting a little bit more profit. And if you can sell the story of I've got a small flock, there's less than 200 hens, this is what they're eating, it is certified organic, it's a point of difference, you could make it work. I'm more, with those prices of grain, it's going to be hard unless, like, I don't even know what you'll have to retail them for it to be sustainable. And then you've got to look at, will the demographics in that marketplace buy those eggs opposed to other organic eggs that could be imported from another state. Like organic eggs, yeah, they can travel a long way. I know in Sydney, New South Wales, there's certified organic eggs from South Australia. So that's just a bit of an idea of how far like organic eggs travel. So if you're trying to compete in a marketplace where the organic eggs are coming in from another state, you'll have to put that in mind. If you're going buying groups and you're selling the relationship between you, the farmer, and the consumer, you may be able to hold your price high at a sustainable price and still make money. The last thing I'll leave you with is pre-mixed grains. Think of this as cordial. Cordial, you have water, you have cordial, you put like 10% cordial in and it makes your drink. You can do that with grain. So basically, let's just say you've got a good supply of organic wheat or corn, whatever it is. Let's just say it's wheat, it's local. You can send a handful of that wheat off to a feed company. You can probably do it with Country Heritage Feeds or the other one, and say, I've got this, can you make me a premix? So basically a premix is they'll put the grain in the computer and go, okay, it's got 10% protein, we've got to bring it up to 18% protein, and they will make you what I call like a cordial. They'll say, okay, get 1 ton of your wheat and then put 50 kilos of this in, like the cordial, mix it up, and then out the other end it will be a nice organic feed, which is like 18% protein. So rather than you paying the freight and transport on that organic feed, which is $1,700 a tonne, you'll still be paying the transport on a premix. So rather than buying like 20 tonne, you might only be buying 2 tonne, and that 2 tonne you mix with the grain that you can source locally, and you can make a commercial lay mix. So organic with pastured eggs can be hard with the grain component. Like, I love organic food. Like in my pantry, where possible, we have organic food. But if you're in a region where you're not close to a feed supplier, it can be hard. I'm not going to say it's not. I really hope this advice has helped you, John, and anyone else about organic feed. Please throw some comments down below. Hopefully I can answer more of your questions. You have a great day.